Hi, Dwayne Lessner back again. In our first video, we took a look at the overview of our new Flow Gateway deployment in AOS 6.7 for NC2 on Azure. Now we're going to actually go through the deployment and look at what has changed in the clusters portal. And then after our cluster is up and running, we're going to auto scale up our Flow Gateway environment to handle additional throughput. So let's dive in. In our NC2 portal, we're going to deploy our brand new AOS 6.7 cluster, showcasing off the ability to deploy multiple flow gateways. We're going to do a general purpose cluster. We are going to deploy this in the East region. The tags below are just because we're coming from our dev environment here, so we can get access to builds before going GA. So you wouldn't see that in the production side, but a 3-node cluster. We're going to deploy to a new region and also a new resource group. So it becomes pretty easy to do that though from the NC2 portal. So we need a VNet for our Prism Central, and we need a VNet for the bare metal nodes themselves. And then you'll see a new VNet pop up, our hub VNet, where our route server is being connected. So pick your version. So here's the Prism Central VNet. Give it a CIDR. So the Prism Central VNet is going to have our Flow Gateway virtual machine, so we can, easily, depending on how much bandwidth we need. That bandwidth is really for the user VMs themselves. So once we, pick the bandwidth, it'll deploy the amount of virtual machines. So here it's 2, and so we have a security key that will be used for SSH into our Flow Gateway virtual machine and Prism Central. And here we're deploying our Azure route server VNet, which will allow us to automatically get our Nutanix VPCs routed through the Azure environment and even on-prem in a very simple manner. So this is also very exciting to have happen. So we don't have to create user-defined routes in Azure anymore. So that's just the deployment. It's going to deploy 2. We see that we have our 2 Flow Gateway virtual machines. We're also deploying 2 BGP VMs as well. So we hit create, and then we'll let that run. And then once that's created, we'll take a look at the setup. So here we have our 3 nodes. We can see their IP addresses on the network screen. We see all of the relative information. We see our Prism Central, and then on the Flow Gateway, now that it's been up and running, we see both the Flow Gateway virtual machines and the BGP virtual machines. So the BGP are going to help us exchange route information with our route server. So on the Azure portal, we're looking at our BGP virtual machine. It has 4 NICs. So for peering to the route servers in a highly available fashion. Our Prism Central VNet, we can see all of the different subnets that are pre-created. We have our PC VNet, our an internal and external for the Flow Gateway, and then our BGP subnet already created. And the BGP and the Flow Gateway have their own security group. So here, just looking at our route server, and we see all of the different peering attributes happening from the BGP virtual machines that have been deployed. And so now if we want to, say we're adding workload in more nodes and we need to add more throughput, it becomes very easy to just take the slider, move it across where we see contention. And so we'll make it so it deploys 2 additional Flow Gateway virtual machines. We hit save, and then it'll automatically update all of the routes between our running cluster, and then the BGP routes will get updated and then hand that off to the route server. So this becomes really super easy. And then here we have our additional Flow Gateway virtual machines up and running, and it's easy as that. So we still have the great ease of use from before, and now the ability to scale up our deployment after the fact. So a lot of ease of use features coming to NC2 on Azure. I would encourage you to check out the new NC2 Tech Note for Azure, where we go in depth on this feature. We'll see you in the next video.